Welcome to this short running training talk. More specifically, we're going to be going into the foot and ankle and how that translates into the running gait, how that translates to when we contact the ground and the floor and push or toe off through the running gait and the running cycle. When we're discussing running and we're talking about the running gait, I always say the foot and ankle are essential, and it's a fantastic place to start if you're interested in starting running and you're interested in putting some nice miles down, especially during COVID. Lots of people are turning to the road and road running, which is fantastic. Running is a super accessible exercise. It's great for us all. You're going to strengthen your lower limb musculature, you're going to strengthen the heart and lungs. You're going to get tons of benefits from running, but it's really, really important that we understand some of the basics and some of the essentials. The key is to do all of this and start the running without picking up unnecessary injuries, without picking up niggles, and essentially getting it done without getting hurt, okay? That has to be our objective. There's no good getting cardiovascular benefits and fantastic endurance for maybe a month and then you're injured for 6 weeks. You will just be losing a lot of what you've worked hard to build with that methodology. So it's important to just learn some backgrounds. And with running, I will always start with the foot and ankle. I always say to people at clinic and at practice, the only part of you, whether it's walking, running, is the foot and ankle that's in communication with the ground. So the only part of your body that is kind of discussing and orienteering its way across the surface is the foot, is the plantar aspect of the foot. So that we have to build from the ground up when we're talking about the running gait and the running cycle. If we haven't got strong feet and ankles, you're going to cause issues further up the chain into the knee and the hips, but you're also going to pick up tendinopathies into the Achilles, plantar fasciitis, I'm sure many people have heard of as well. So it's really essential we understand and start to learn about the foot and ankle and the role it plays in the running gait. So basic sort of place to start is what I would say to people and runners. I would say, okay, so you're doing every session the same. Are you going out and are you hitting the same distance, the same pace? Are you going around the same park? Okay, the answer should be unequivocally no. Okay, you should not every session, but most sessions should be different. Okay, you should be hitting different systems, different paces, different durations. Okay, and if that's the training methodology, then it would make sense for the footwear to essentially reflect that, right? So it would make sense that we had different shoes, different footwear, different socks maybe even to basically facilitate that training process and facilitate that cycle. And that blends into the topic today. I always say to people at clinic, if you can, cycle between 2 to 3 pairs of running shoes. Okay, we've all got our favorite shoes and our perfect sort of the ones that we enjoy and we fall back on, and that's fine. This isn't about one brand being better than the other. This is just about mixing it up a little bit, okay? Now, for most people who have that good neuromuscular control, they have that good they've built that running foundation and that running strength, okay? So they've got a nice endurance, cardiovascular base, they build some running strength, and they're doing steady miles, let's say 20 a week as a ballpark. They're running 20 miles a week. Most people are going to be really suited to something that looks like this, okay? This is a neutral running shoe. It's a zero drop shoe, so it basically doesn't have a heel cup. So it's not denser within this part of the sole, okay? It's neutral throughout. So the toe box to heel cup is the same thickness, okay? So that's called a zero drop neutral shoe. For most people, something neutral, something fairly minimal, something adjustable is going to be perfect, okay? Humans are built to run. They're built to contact the ground and push through a strong stance. And a shoe like this is going to be perfect for the majority of your miles. This is actually an Ultra, and can you see it's built into the shape of your foot. So it actually mimics the way your feet present and sit within the cup of the shoe. So I will always wear Ultra. I think these are fantastic. And for the majority of most people miles, as I've said, if they're fairly good neuromuscular, they've got fairly good neuromuscular connection. In other words, their running form is good, they're fairly strong. Something like this is going to be perfect for the majority of their miles. The slow and steady stuff, The long runs, maybe some tempos are going to be perfect with this shoe. Okay, just going back to Ultra, this is an Ultra shoe, and especially this is Ultra Escalante, and these are tremendous. I think I've done over 160 miles in these now, and they're almost like new. A little bit of a mark there where I was going off-road, but they are pretty much brand new. So shout out to Ultra for the shoes. Ultra are a fantastic running brand. And their shoes are hyper durable, so they're super durable, which is why I always choose them. That being said, these probably make up the 80%, 70% of my running work, these shoes. But there is a time and a place to shift and to train to something slightly different. Maybe you're looking at a Nike, maybe you're looking at an Asics, and those kind of trainers. Maybe you're looking at something with a little bit of a heel raise. Maybe it's something a bit more speedy. Can you see this is quite broad, quite thick? It's not really a racing shoe. Maybe you want to buy and purchase a racing shoe for some of your up-tempo runs and some of your higher threshold works and some of your kilometer repeats. In that way, what you're doing is not only you're hitting training in a different way, you're also hitting different footwear and different shoes. What that does is basically change the angle slightly. So imagine if we've got a slight raise, it's going to change the angle slightly, and it's going to really help you that propulsion. So when you contact, you basically get a really nice absorption of load and then bang through. So there's two kind of parts to the running cycle. We land midfoot, we basically absorb load, and we push off through the big toe, okay? So we push off, we collapse and drive through. A shoe with a little bit more of a heel rise, a little bit more of an angle there is going to really help that propulsion. It's going to be a faster shoe. So you would want to basically buy 2 or 3 pairs. Maybe a bog standard shoe for your longer distance, and then a faster shoe as well. And that way, basically, you're going to, as you hit that ground, your foot is going to be angled slightly different, okay? And with those slight little percentages of difference in where your foot contacts the ground, it's going to reduce the likelihood of injury, because instead of every time you going out and the same muscles doing the same thing, the metatarsal head's taking the same load, the plantar pads at the base of the foot, all of these structures are going to be slightly manipulated when you wear a different form of footwear. It's not going to make a vast difference, but it's small margins with running. There's a lot of load going through the foot and the lower limb, okay? So if you're just adjusting and manipulating shoes every now and then, you're going to mitigate the load going through particular tendons. You're going to stop overwhelming that medial arch and some of the Achilles. You know, you've got basically all these little intricate muscles and tendons that run through from the tib fib down and insert into the base of the foot, into the side of your ankle, and they all work to stabilize. But if you're continually loading them in the same way and you're landing in an identical manner, you can see how potentially you're going to be more at risk for injury. Whereas if we slightly change the angles of the way you're placing your foot, and we slightly tilt you side, or we slightly shove you forwards, it's going to give your foot and ankle a little bit of a different sort of stimulus, okay? We always talk about being adaptive in exercise, and this is a fantastic way you can start to be adaptive. If you're already being adaptive in your training and you're already doing different distances, sprint sessions, tempo runs, then apply that to the footwear. Get some different shoes, 2 or 3 different types of shoes. Different brands as well. You know, don't always stick to Ultra. You know, go and look at some Nikes, go and look at some Asics. They all have slightly different New Balance. Go and have a look. They all have different philosophies in running gait and running styles, and they bias their trainers towards different athletes. So go in and explore and see which ones work for you. As I've suggested, you're only going to be doing yourself a service by testing things out and being adaptable. You're only going to offload some of the tendons and some of the structures that can be irritated. More of this shoe, as it is that zero drop and that neutral nature. It does put a lot of load through your structures, because now I'm asking a lot from my gastrosoleus complex. I'm asking a lot of my medial arch. I'm asking a lot of the aponeurosis, the plantar fascia. Those structures are all driving me forward because I'm having to do all the work in this shoe. So maybe someone that wasn't as strong or wasn't as adapted to running went and tried to run in a zero drop minimalist shoe. They could overwhelm their structures. They could end up with Achilles tendonitis, as we've discussed, some plantar fascia issues. So these are great for more stronger and more long-term runners. However, you may be wanting something a little bit more cushioned, a little bit more sole there if you were just starting. It's just going to help and support you through the running cycle and your entrance into running. So yeah, in clarification, foot and ankle is of huge importance when starting running, and for long time runners, people that have been running for a long time as well. So always bear in mind, switch through trainers, switch through sessions as well. A fantastic source on YouTube is Sage Canaday. He will run through sessions, diet, plant-based athletics, all these things. So follow Sage Canaday on YouTube, and he will explain you through the sessions. I just wanted to basically discuss a little bit about the foot and ankle, which shoes to go for, minimalist, neutral shoe for the majority of your work, something a little bit more supportive for your speed sessions, something with a little bit more propulsion, maybe a bit faster, maybe a Nike. And that way, you're going to train your foot in a slightly different manner, okay? So you're not going to continually be going out stressing the same, stressing the same, stressing the same. We're going to be alternating our training, okay? Adaptability always wins.